everybody, this is Justin with the Songbirds Music, Art, and Dance Center channel, and today we're going to be talking about 10 things that a performing musician should never do from the stage. Okay, this first one is a big one, and that is that a performing musician should never apologize from the stage. This is hard to do. Things in live shows go wrong all the time. Maybe you're feeling sick, or maybe a song just doesn't start the right way, or maybe something even falls apart. But no matter what happens, the show must go on. This is kind of tricky to explain, but essentially when you're a performing musician or an artist on stage, you're providing a service to the audience. You're there to set the moods and give the audience an enjoyable time, whether that be through music, art, whatever performing thing that you are doing. If you start apologizing or bringing attention to the things that maybe didn't go so well, then it kind of shifts and turns the tables. All of a sudden, where you were once taking care of them, the audience now has to offer their sympathy towards you. It's an awkward position and it's an awkward feel in the room. So as much as possible, resist the urge, no matter what happens, to apologize from the stage. On a similar note, the second point is don't break character. It's really easy to do that, and it's very hard not to. Resist the urge to let everyone know that something went wrong. But if something breaks or if something doesn't go as planned, don't tell the audience. Save face. It makes you look better as a performer, and if there are any mistakes that happen that are really obvious, you can always spin them off in a good way or a positive way for the audience. Number 3 is a big one, and it's a pitfall that a lot of amateurs or intermediate players and musicians fall into. And that is, don't do something for the first time in a performance. Think of a theater show, like a musical or an opera or a play. All of those shows have really well-polished scripts. They've been reviewed, the actors, the directors, everyone knows exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. Think of your show like that. If you're a performing artist that's in a band or maybe a solo act or even just a soloist, you should write a script for yourself. That could be something as small as a set list on paper or on an electronic device, or it can also be everything written out explicitly, like the banter, the greeting, the goodbye, everything. It depends how detailed you want to be. If you're still developing your act and trying things out, go with the script for a performance, and then after the performance, review and decide what you liked and what you didn't like. Then you can make edits and change for the next time. Don't change things mid-performance, and don't just throw things in as an experiment. It's a good way to get off track, and it's a good way to ensure that things do go wrong. Number 4 is pretty self-explanatory, but it's a really hard pill to swallow. And that is just never go on stage underprepared. The biggest piece of advice I can say is the quote, "Amateurs practice until they get it right, and professionals practice until they can't get it wrong." Make sure you're in the second category, and prepare, so that what happens on stage is your best. Number 5 is also a tough one for anyone that's performing, no matter what your level is. We all get super excited to try new things and show them off to our friends and our fans. But the big advice for this one is don't attempt new tricks on stage. That's kind of a gray area. But keep in mind that if you're studying with a teacher, taking lessons, or just practicing on your own, for some reason, with instruments and especially voice, we perform about 6 months behind the progress that we make in our own house or in our lesson. Resist the urge to try new tricks until they're absolutely ready to go. Number 6 is vital, and that is don't go on stage without testing your gear. This can mean any part of your performance that is necessary. If you're in a band and you play an instrument, make sure everything is plugged in, turned on, and working. If you're an instrumentalist, keep your instrument in tip-top shape. You change your strings, change your pads, your mouthpiece, whatever you need to do. Polish it, clean it, make sure it's taken care of. And if you're a vocalist, take time to warm up, get enough sleep, and take care of your body. If you're in a tight bind for time and you have to go on stage, I would rather personally delay the show by several minutes and check that everything is working instead of just jumping in. It'll save you a lot of heartache, and if something does go wrong, you'll be able to quickly address the issue instead of shooting in the dark. Number 7 is a tough one, and that is don't slack if your audience is small. If you as a performer give a lot of energy to the audience, they will give it back to you, and that cycle will increase, and that's really where the magic happens. But what happens if no one's watching or paying attention? Unfortunately, this happens more often than not, and when that occurs, you cannot let your energy slack or drop off. Every person that comes to see you perform is worth it and important. If they've paid money to come see your show, it's money they've worked really hard to obtain. And if it's a free show, they've still spent their night or their day to come out and see you. Their time is valuable. You have to give every single person, even if it's the waitstaff at the bar and nobody else, a really positive show. Number 8 applies to all kinds of musical stage performances, whether it's in a theater or a solo show or in a band. And that is just don't kill time or drag out the time. Let's make an example. If you're a solo musician who's been hired to play in a restaurant, say for 3 hours on a Friday night, and you only have material that can fill at best 2.5 hours, don't drag out your time and just fill. It's best to give the audience what they're there to see and hear, and that's your music. If you need to repeat a song, go ahead and do that. If you have a set list with, say for example, 20 songs on it, and you get to the end of your 20, it's okay to circle back and play the first 2 or 3 again. The end of your set should be extra strong. You don't want it to be the worst material that you've played all night, and you especially don't want it to be filler. Number 9 is important, especially if you're looking to get hired again, and that is don't go overtime. Let's go back to the previous example of a singer who was hired to play in a restaurant on a Friday night for 3 hours. If you're there to play for 3 hours, don't play for 3.5. As a matter of fact, don't even play for 3 hours and 5 minutes. You're there to perform a job and provide a service. Make sure you fill that time and don't go over. There are exceptions to this, and it really depends on the environment. For example, if you are at a restaurant gig, you might ask the manager or the person in charge if you could play 1 extra song. The wise musician will feel this one out in the circumstance that they are in. Do remember that your time as a musician is valuable. You're providing a service, and you should be compensated for that service. Our last point piggybacks on the first one, and that is just don't be a diva or a divo. The best way to get rehired or get any kind of musical gig is to make sure that you are a nice, kind, and helpful person. When you arrive to a gig, make sure that you meet and introduce yourself to everyone, especially the people who are going to be working closely with you. There used to be a lot of crazy egos in the music world, and the business has shifted to not allow that anymore. The diva and divo has been slightly pushed to the outskirts. That doesn't mean it still doesn't happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our Songbirds Music, Art, and Dance Center channel. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and visit our website and blog. All of those links are in the description below. We'll have new content out for you every single week, and we look forward to learning more with you later.